So tell me about this magical garden you created. How did that come about?
Well, I didn't so much create it. It was already here. I became very ill. And at the time, they didn't know what it was. That's before I became on oxygen, dependent on oxygen. And I was in the doctor's surgery, and it said get fit, because I hadn't been active and I'd worked all my life. The pounds had started to get on, and I was 14 stone, and it put me out of breath. So I thought, oh, and I asked the doctor, and they gave me some leaflets, and I looked through and I found this place 4 years ago. And when I came to this place, there was nobody here. And I went up to the potting shed, and in the potting shed was all these dying plants, which I didn't realise belonged to the school children at the time. So I was told it was a community garden, so I just thought anybody could do something. And I like to put right if I can see it needs doing, you know. And at the time I couldn't do nothing else, you know.
You couldn't do exercise?
No. So it just kept me busy just potting around and doing these dead flowers, you know, that relived, you know, came back to life. And this went on for months and months, and then all of a sudden I met somebody. They were called Paul and Branca. And they said, oh, you're our garden fairy, are you? And I went. And after that, they asked me if I'd like to join the garden as a member, so I did. And then I got involved and met Dee. And everybody knows Dee, and she's a great person and a great friend of mine now. Because everybody was busy working and doing everything else, so I was sort of like left in command then. So I did everything like, you know, as if I was in charge, even though I wasn't in charge, if you know what I mean.
But there was
plodded on.
There was nobody to tell you that you are not in charge.
That's right. No.
In terms of the garden, what resources do you think it took over the years to get it to this standard?
The resources mainly are large groups of volunteers from the big companies on volunteering day. It would cost us something like £10 for food and drinks for them, or snacks, you know, for them. We have a tea shed, so, you know, milk, sugar and coffee and tea and all that's there. But it would cost us that just for them to help us, but it would be a tremendous help.
So these are people who work for big companies and
yes.
under the corporate social responsibility?
They have a voluntary day, like a Viva, both for BT, the Chinese community, Old Mutual, the Premier Inn. There's a whole list of them up on in the gratitude corner, we call it. I've had a gratitude corner put in with the help of my sister and my nephew and friends, you know, that come up from Devon to do it.
So
yes.
Did you get in touch with these big companies to ask for volunteers?
Yes. I'd spend a lot of my time doing emails and emailing between a young man called Tom of the voluntary services at SVS, I think. Yeah, he would send me or look for me for, you know, companies to do voluntary work. Yes, because I can't do all the massive, big major works and everything that's been done. I've got the ideas, I've got the plans, I've got the staff, it's just having the muscle. So it's good when we have these open voluntary days, you know. It was just nice, and then the children were coming in and I was getting hit by balls left, right and centre, whether it was cricket, football or just playing ball. And from then onwards I thought, right, children play here. We've got to save all these plants and all these fruit trees and everything else, you know. They need a little area for themselves, so we got a grant from the council. Stephen Barnes Andrews applied for it for us, you know, or put us forward or whatever, and we applied and we got the grant, and we built a multi-purpose ball area, which really can be used for exercises or anything really, because we didn't have anything fixed into it. We have Fitrus School, who doesn't have an outdoor space, or play area or a gym, so they come here and they do their outdoor activities and they play, you know, ball games in playtime and everything, and dinner times they come here and they really enjoy it, you know. So they're quite happy, and they use the garden Monday to Thursday, and they use it for PE as well, which is great, you know. Thanks to Vitra Play that did it on a budget for us, and they did, and they went through hoops and swings and roundabouts to get it there for us. This is a bit of history about the garden. The school children gave this to me for doing their multi-purpose area for them. This was the playground before, when it was a school here. And we have down the bottom there this water feature. Half of it that was ended up in the garden. Nobody knows how it became in this garden, and all these bits of stuff here, relics and all that, came from when they put in the multi-purpose area from the archaeologist who was here, that found that it was Victorian pottery that was buried underneath the tarmac. Now this here is my biggest achievement.
That's the story.
This I'm very proud of, because I found it in the middle there, overgrown with weeds and rubbish, and this space was already here, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have it united together back as it was, and to think this is over 100 years old. I know it's got a bit of damage from being in the garden for all those years, but it looks good. But it was so heavy, the Saints Foundation that came in managed to get it, bless them, from there to there. Then Vita said, that's no problem, I'll hoist thing and lift it up and put it on top. It was too heavy for them, so they couldn't do it. So when the archaeologist was here, he said, why don't we put it to Balfour Beatty? But it was the voluntary group, but they actually came the day after, but Balfour Beatty arranged for it to be put back together again. Yes, but that's history, you see, I love history, and that's history. But yes, I feel that's my best achievement and goal in life, to have done that. You
so
know.
what did you do as an occupation before?
I was a community care worker. And before that, I used to have my own shop. Before that, I did many years in factories, all kinds of factories, all positions in factories. I was electronic engineer when I left school in a factory, and just gone to factories, food factories, machine operators, welder. I was a welder. You know, I've done all sorts of work. I've worked night shift, 6 in the morning till 6 at night, 6 at night till 6 in the morning. I've worked 2 to 10, every shift you can think of I've done.
Character building stuff.
And I used to do a lot of DIY at home myself. I know how to mitre, I know how to put up your skirting boards and door frames, and I couldn't do it now, mind you, but I used to.
Fantastic,
Yes.
Jane. Thank you very much.
And the multi-purpose area, of course, is the last thing in the garden, with the new path put in by Balfour Beatty, which the council kindly did. Yes, and thanks to Jackie Raymond for seeing to the path, and her team for the water feature as well. Yes.
Initially you had the breast cancer, you got over it, and then you had the lung cancer. So what was going through your mind?
Well, nothing. When they put me on the oxygen, they gave me like palliative care, the nurses coming round, and I said to them, I don't need you, I can do things myself, and I'm not sitting at home waiting to die. I will find a way, and I will. That's when I got bottles and a bag, and I first of all had it on my back, but with osteoporosis it's very heavy, you know, and it hurts. So I got my bag, set of wheels, and I'm off. Nothing stops me. You can't sit and wait to die at home, can you? You've got to get up and get out and live life.